Uhuru. I am now honored to introduce one of the Uhuru Three who stared down the colonial state in the midst of the multifaceted military attacks on the Uhuru movement. Chairwoman Penny Hess has been a member of the Solidarity Forces for over 49 years. That's since 1976. And she is one of the people who defeated the bogus charges of the state and has been fighting for reparations for African people with solidarity, white solidarity with black power. Penny Hess, Chairwoman Penny Hess, welcome to the stage.
I need somebody to just help me turn my Mac so it doesn't go into sleep. It goes into deep sleep and then I it goes into very deep sleep. Right in the middle of my presentation. And
I was looking for the deep state.
I think it would be under your settings.
Okay.
Do you want to use my computer for your? Do you want to use her computer?
Well, I have to find out my stuff.
I'm not familiar with Macs. Okay, who knows Macs?
Who knows Max?
I think it's under settings, but I'm actually not sure.
I'm really so critical. Sequoia. All right, everyone, welcome you were this big. I wanted to not go this week.
Should I make the announcement for those online? Yeah. Uhuru, for those tuning in online, we will be back momentarily, just having a bit of technical difficulties.
Uhuru, I just want to say white solidarity with black power. Uhuru, welcome everybody here. This is so powerful. We're going to salute everyone. I have all my notes, so bear with me a minute. But I really want to salute all of you who had to go through tornadoes, hail, sirens blasting throughout the city, and then are here today. So I just really want to appreciate all of you. This is a powerful movement under the leadership of the African Revolution, which is where we have to be. And I want to salute the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, and Comrade Jesse and Amanda, the other comrades that are here. I know Comrade Jamie is doing a great job in Florida, organizing USM there. Really want to salute you, Comrade Kara, Wendy, John, Comrade John from Hands Off Uhuru, and our powerful kick-ass legal team, Comrade Angela. Wow. And I hope you're going to be saying some things at this conference today. I can't express how much just incredible appreciation we have for the entire legal team of the Uhuru Three. And Comrade Angela was one who just got in there and found all the cases and all the, I don't know, whatever they call it, case law and precedents, and really took it on. And I want to, Sequoia, I'm sorry, if you can't find it, never mind, I can just take it as it is. But of course, I want to salute our leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Deputy Chair Onizane Yeshitela, the African People's Socialist Party, the Uhuru Movement, the Secretary General Mwezi Odom, who led the Hands Off Uhuru campaign, and President Yejide. I'm also very, very honored and excited that we have with us today Comrade Afia Ngwanza, hope I said that right, Nwangaza, who is with us, going to be with us today, a leader of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee of the 1960s, who is also a revolutionary lawyer, attorney, who has been part of struggles of African people and played a key role in many, many fronts. I think the Greensboro Massacre, I think that she was part of the legal team for that, I believe, and many other things that she has been part of and is part of today. So as part of the Uhuru movement. And let me get my notes here. This is a great meeting. I do want to say that that we have to go out there fighting, because we cannot be white people that sit back on the pedestal in a system built on the enslavement and assault on Africa, the enslavement of African people and the turning of African human beings into commodities for sale on land stolen from the indigenous people, and that we have a responsibility understanding that we as white people, as the colonizers, have sit on a pedestal of the oppression of African people and the peoples on the planet Earth. Thank you very much. All right, let me look at my notes here. Where is it? So I also want to join USM in saluting Aaron Bushnell and other white people, other North Americans who have fought to take a stand in solidarity with African and oppressed peoples, and that we understand that there are many Aaron Bushnells. There are many white people who are looking for this stand. How do we join the people on the planet Earth? We cannot accept the fact that the United States government, as the key colonial power in the world, expects our unity with it. And we refuse to be united with a system, parasitic system, that the chairman calls the colonial mode of production. And I want to salute African people. I want to recognize the party's fight that every inch of Africa and all its resources, all its stolen labor, the wealth created by the stolen labor and resources of African people, all belong to African people. And that we salute African people, those forcibly dispersed in the US, the Caribbean, South America, and millions of African people who have been forced to go to Europe following their stolen resources, as Chairman Omali Yeshitela puts it. And we stand here today in profound solidarity with African people who fought and died for their rights, which also opened the door for our rights, our ability to experience freedom of speech and the right to struggle and organize as in the white community. And that must be in solidarity with African and indigenous people. We salute the indigenous people whose land this is, who has been stolen from them, who's had genocide committed against them, a popular genocide that was carried out by white people, by regular white people. And we do salute the victory of the release of Leonard Peltier, and we recognize that what was called the official Leonard Peltier Ad Hoc Committee at the time was part of the Hands Off Uhuru organization since the beginning of it in about 2023. So this was an incredible victory that forced the U.S. government to release Leonard Peltier. And we just say, Uhuru. Leonard Peltier is a freedom fighter for the indigenous people. And in I think it was about 1975 or 76, right when I was joining APSC almost 50 years ago, he was in a struggle because the whole world revolution, as the chairman says, was the main trend in the world at that time. All around the world, colonized peoples were fighting against white colonial domination, the thing that the chairman calls the colonial mode of production. And that this was true just as the Black Power movement, the Black Revolution, which Comrade Afia, that we will hear from, was part of, and the Vine City movement of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee was part of. Leonard Peltier was fighting on Lakota land in Pine Ridge as part of a huge movement against the fact that the U.S. government, FBI agents, and U.S. military forces were coming into indigenous land, murdering indigenous people, and in general, fighting against a movement for sovereignty that was very profound and strong at that time. Leonard Peltier represents that. And we saw a video, maybe we'll see it today, of when he got out of prison, and he said, "We are winning," and he said that this is about the struggle of the Lakota Nation for liberation. And it was very, very, very powerful and important. And I want to salute my leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela. And I really can't say words for who the chairman is and what the chairman has done, but I know that the world that we live in would not be what it is now, even in terms of resistance, that nobody has kept alive the African Revolution of the 1960s with the goal to complete it, that the chairman solved every problem left unsolved by the defeat of the African Revolution, by COINTELPRO and the U.S. counterinsurgency that was an armed counterinsurgency that assassinated and murdered in a very brutal way Fred Hampton, Mark Clark in Chicago, banging down their door at 4 o'clock in the morning in 1969, December 4th, 1969, that the chairman analyzed that this was a counterinsurgency because the defining line that was put out by this U.S. government and the bourgeoisie and even maybe a neocolonialist forces, is that the revolution was over. People went home and they were happy with what they got, which wasn't true at all because that movement was defeated with violence in the same way that the U.S. was overturning and committing a counterinsurgent war against the people of Vietnam, the peoples all around the world who were fighting for freedom. And all the world, all anti-colonial struggles in the world looked to the African Revolution inside the U.S. as their leadership, that the role that the African Revolution played in the U.S. to not only what is happening to winning Black power inside the U.S., but around the world. And the chairman has said it so movingly and so powerfully that the African and indigenous people are one. That is one struggle. The chairman has talked about that, about the role of African people throughout the Americas, throughout the Caribbean, throughout the world. And, and that this has been very, very powerful. And the chairman said that the struggle for the liberation of Vietnam and the party are one. The struggle of the people of Haiti, of course, they're African people. That is one struggle. That is one struggle. And so the chairman has solved the problems, left unsolved from the defeat of the African Revolution of the 60s. And one of them was to solve the problem, what about the white people? What would happen about the white people? And the thing that was so important that we really want to deepen and understand today is that, as the chairman has said, that again, that this system, this whole social system that we live in, that we see everything about it today, is built on the assault of a whole continent of African human beings for 600 and more years, because it continues to today. And that, that this is stolen land, and that white people, if we understand what the chairman is saying, one of the first things he ever said when APSC was formed that I remember, the chairman said the struggle is not against racism. It is against colonialism, and that racism is the ideas in white people's heads. And African people are struggling for power. To fight racism is to accept the status quo of the parasitic system we live in. And the chairman has shown, yes, it is parasitic. It sucks the blood of the people on the planet Earth. That's what the colonial mode of production means. It means that colonialism wasn't in the past. It wasn't a policy. It wasn't something happened in another period of time. It is the essence, it is the DNA of the system that we live in right now. And this is so critical for us to understand, and this is what distinguishes the Uhuru movement and the African People's Socialist Party from anything else. So it's saying, well, what about the white people? And the chairman, and we'll talk about this more in different workshops, but Comrade Afia played a huge role in writing this paper put out by the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee called the Vine City Paper. Vine City is a neighborhood, an African neighborhood of Atlanta, Georgia, where the movement was going on, the movement for Black Power in that time. And they evicted, so white people were members of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee through much of the early existence, and that was called SNCC, S-N-C-C, SNCC. And so they wrote a paper evicting, kicking out all the white members, and with it a call that white people need to go into the white community and organize other white people in solidarity with African people in this huge struggle that was going on. But did white people do that? No. No. When white people went into the white community, we just carried out our own agenda. This is what the chairman calls white opportunism. We sit on the pedestal. We are the colonizers, and we have to understand that. And so the chairman, Afia, this was raised in the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee that white people need to go in the white community. But when that happened, like I said, it was just opportunism. It was our own agenda. It totally betrayed and left, totally in the cold, solidarity for African people who were waging a huge struggle for Black power by that time. And so Chairman Omali Yeshitela, as a very young person, took it on his shoulders to solve the problems of the African Revolution left unsolved. And he came up with reparations as a revolutionary demand, and held the first tribunal on reparations to African people in 1982 in Brooklyn. I think Redbeard was there, weren't you, Redbeard? Yes, you were. Yes, and that is so powerful. And there's a book called The Verdict Is In, and if that's on the book table, I hope people could get it if you don't have it, because it has incredible testimonies by African people at this 2-day tribunal in Brooklyn. It was amazing. The chairman was the people's advocate. He was the lawyer, the I know is that the prosecutor? No, that's not. But anyway, he played a role. Anyway, so he was the people's advocate, the people's lawyer. And oh my God, he was a great lawyer then, and he is now. But at this tribunal, every expert and just regular African people testified. The greatest experts of African people, from African sociologists, historians, Leonard Jeffries, who's a professor at CUNY, even I think still today, maybe he's retired, gave an amazing history of Africa and African people, which was the kind of thing that nobody ever did that except the chairman in the past. And also, I would say, would mention that Afeni Shakur was there, and she had with her son, Tupac, who was about 10, was there, and her daughter. And she was from a leader of the Panther 21 in the 1960s, who was locked up for conspiracy to blow up the botanical gardens of the Bronx. And she was locked up for a couple of years, and there were so many trials because the Black Panther Party was under assault by the US government. There were so many people needing trials that she actually took it on to represent and be the lawyer at her case, and she won. She exposed that a government agent had been put into the Black Panther unit in I think in Brooklyn or in the Bronx of New York, and she won. She exposed it. The case was thrown out, and it was incredibly victorious. And I believe that all of the Panthers that were on trial, many of the cases were won either through that case or many others. So, she was there. This was history. And one of the things that the chairman has worked to do is to take and analyze the history of the struggle of African people and to put it under the African liberation movement. And I also want to say that here in St. Louis, there is an incredible history of African struggle here, and there is a vicious history to what the US government has done to African people here, that we have whole neighborhoods where African people had power. There's many of them. The one's called the Ville, one is called Mill Creek Valley, a neighborhood of 20,000 African people that had their own hospitals, they had their own schools, they had their own businesses, their own churches, and the city of St. Louis tore it down, passed the Team 4 plan, which was to get rid of African neighborhoods and and really brought the wrecking ball to 6,000 African people's homes, wiped out where 20,000 African people lived. And now it is St. Louis University is on it, and most of that land is still empty today. And we talk about Tulsa. I think somebody here from Oklahoma, I don't know, but Tulsa, Oklahoma, yes, Mads, where white people and a white mob attacked and burned down an African neighborhood called Greenwood in Tulsa, where they called it Black Wall Street. African people had gained wealth through their own labor and through their just living in their own neighborhood and creating these institutions, and a white mob attacked it. And so we have, I know in St. Petersburg, Florida, there's the gas plant where the chairman grew up. That was wiped out. Every single city, there's Rosewood, Florida, which is just the woods now. We went there. There's a plaque in the middle of the woods near Gainesville and way down a country road. That was Rosewood, Florida, a flourishing town that, again, a white mob burned down. And so what we're saying today is that we stand with African people. we recognize what we've done. And I have a whole book, and I want people to buy it and read it. It's called Overturning the Culture of Violence. Because when I was organized by the chairman and recruited by the chairman in 1976, I knew that there was some kind of history of white people, but I felt that I had to study this. I had to find out. And so I began reading just, books that then, and this was back then, were available. There's much more available now. Books like 100 Years of Lynchings, that just records the lynchings. The books written by Ward Churchill, because many of those were written years ago, and that expose what white people did, what these lynchings are, what this torture was. And no white person was ever prosecuted for the murder of an African. And no lynching was ever brought to court. I think that's the history that I've seen. And I also want to say that I hope one of these days that we can create a USM trip or event in Montgomery, Alabama, where what's called the Lynching Museum is. Because, wow, it is so deep, and it is done in a way, it is done in a very, very brilliant way. It's an outside monument or tribute with an outside structure, and hanging from the structures are concrete slabs for every county in 5 southern states, including Florida, with all the names of African people on those. So you're looking at them and walking through it. All those African people who were murdered, lynched, or murdered or slaughtered by white people in the South. And I think it's something, there's thousands, literally thousands of slabs. And so, it just shows you the enormity of what white people have done. And that I know from the leadership of the chairman, from organizing, from being responsible for building a solidarity movement, that many, many, many white people want to be here. They want to be here. And we have to make this organization into the thousands of people. There is no other place, because we can't walk over the bodies of African and indigenous people to get to Palestine. We get to Palestine and solidarity for that through the African Liberation Movement. I forgot my book, but one of the very first resolutions of the party in its Congress of 1981 was solidarity with Palestine. The chairman spoke at an incredible event in San Francisco, I think somewhere in San Francisco, because I don't remember exactly where, but it had balconies, and it was sponsored by Palestinian and Arab activists from throughout the state of California. And it was like this huge auditorium with balconies that went up. I remember that. And the chairman spoke, and when he got on the stage, that he expressed the unity of African people to the Palestinian people. The entire building started stomping their feet and chanting that the people united will never be defeated. It was incredibly, incredibly powerful. And finally, the chairman was able to speak. But this is the unity. This is what the chairman has done. He has built and made the question of reparations a household word. He has answered the question of white people, that white people can be one. We can be one, but we have to be accountable to the strategy of the African Revolution. We have a mandate, and that is to go behind enemy lines, go into the colonizer population, to recognize, that we are the voice of Black power in whiteface. It's very powerful. It's very emotional, but we can win. And I do want to also say that Aaron Bushnell, as the chairman says, he's ours. He is ours. He was looking for the Uhuru movement because of his articulations came from things that Comrade Jesse has said, or Comrade Jamie, or, many others, Comrade Redbeard. He articulated that. He was looking for us. And he didn't need to set himself on fire. But he wanted to do that as the only alternative, to raise the colonial question. He was in the right place. But we needed to be out there to bring him in to us. And, we see this now. We see many, many white people trying to take this stand. We need to be there. We need to build our membership. We need to build our branches. We need to be everywhere in the Bay Area. I want to salute Comrade Wendy and others who are here from Comrade Janine and Jacoya, and who are from out there in Oakland, and maybe they're going to be here in St. Louis longer. And just really, really salute all of you. And I do want to say finally that this, new things are coming under the leadership of Deputy Chair, and I want to salute Deputy Chair Omali Yeshitela as the person who leads the struggle for putting the theory of African internationalism into practice, into material reality. We're going to have a tour this tomorrow. We're going to hear more. We're going to hear Deputy Chair's PowerPoint, I think, today, which is amazing and is powerful. And many of the members of the African People's Solidarity Committee work directly in the office of the Deputy Chair. So there's going to be many, many new things unveiled that we'll be taking on. Very, very exciting. But I think the thing that the office of the Deputy Chair proves is that African internationalism, as the chairman says, is a theory of practice. It is not abstract. It has to be carried out in the world. It has to actually be carried out in the world. And that's what the leadership of Deputy Chair Omali Yeshitela has brought and leads in the Uhuru movement. I want to salute Deputy Chair. All right, okay. This doesn't work. All right, so I know there's a lot more that I need to say, but I do want to salute this incredible event. I know that we are winning. I know that we have the ability to be on the winning side. I want to say, again, also the incredible role that Chairman Omali Yeshitela played in the trial, in showing and winning that was a political trial, that was an attack. They wanted to silence Chairman Omali Yeshitela. They wanted to do what they do to African people whenever African people fight for power. They wanted to silence him. They wanted to put him in prison for 15 years. They wanted to force the three of us to pay $250,000, or maybe it was $500,000 for 2 charges each. But they couldn't do it. They could not do it. And we Chairman kicked the ass of the ruling class, and it feels really good. They also wanted to silence the party's voice in the white community. And in fact, all of this has made the Uhuru movement larger, greater exposure, many more friends and comrades than ever before. And I salute all of you who are here today. So we are winning. Uhuru. Hands off Uhuru.
Hands off Africa.
White solidarity with Black power. Uhuru. Reparations now. Uhuru.